Lesson 2.5, we're going to graph equations using tables. Specifically, we're going to look at linear equations. A linear equation is just an equation whose solutions fall on a line. However, this method we're going to use today can be used on other kinds of equations as well. For our example, we're going to graph each equation by using a table of values. So we're given on a part that y equals 3x minus 4. And we want to take this equation, create a table of values, and then use those values, which we could write as ordered pairs, to graph the equation. So here we have a table. We have x and y that we're dealing with in linear equations. Notice your equation uses x and y. And we're just going to choose some values for x. I like to choose some negative, 0, and some positive. So what you would usually see chosen in math is -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. That's just a standard. You can choose different values, but you need to include some negative, 0, and some positive. Now, while I would typically go ahead and plug that in, so we see what this work is today, I'm going to show a middle step. I'm going to show what y is equal to, which is 3x minus 4. I'm going to plug that in here. We're going to show 3 times x, which is 3 times -2, minus 4. We're going to plug that in and see what we get. And you could just go to your calculator. 3 times -2 is -6, minus 4 is -10. So the y value is equal to -10. 3 times x, which is -1, is -3, minus 4 is -7. So we get a y value of -7. 3 times x, which is 0, minus 4 is 0, minus 4 is -4. Then we have 3 times x, which is 1, minus 4. 3 minus 4 is -1. We have x, which is 2. So 3 times 2, which is 6, minus 4 is 2. And then we can just write our ordered pairs. We write x, then y when we're writing ordered pairs. So we've got -2, -10, -1, -7, 0, -4, 1, -1, 2, +2. And now we're ready to graph by plotting these ordered pairs and drawing a line through them. So I'm having to draw my own coordinate plane. I noticed that my x values went from -2 to +2. So from left to right, we don't have to go very far, but the y values go from -10 up to +2. So we're going to have a lot more y's that are negative. So I'm going to count by 2's on the y-axis. So -2, -4, -6, -8, +2, +4. And then on the x-axis, it would be fine to count by 1's. The axes can count by different numbers, by different scales, but you have to be consistent on that axis. So on the y-axis, we consistently counted by 2's. On the x-axis, I'm going to consistently count by 1's. And then we just start plotting our points. We've got -2, -10, which will be about here, -1, -7, 0, -4, 1, -1, 2, +2. And notice how your points line up. They do appear to make a straight line. And so then just as neatly as possible, draw a straight line through your points. Make sure it extends across the coordinate plane, and we're finished with this problem. Equation B, y equal 1/4 x minus 1. And we'll start by making a table of values. So I chose -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So we have some negative, 0, and some positive x values. And then we just plug them into our equation to figure out what y is. So remember, y is equal to 1/4 x minus 1. And we're just going to plug in our x value each time and say 1/4 times that x value and subtract 1. Now, we can do this on a calculator fairly easily. Okay, so on a calculator, we're going to type in 1 ABC4 for the fraction 1/4, then in a parenthesis, -2 in place of x. Since it was multiplied, we can put it in parenthesis, and then subtract 1. And we get -1.5. Now we can just replace this. Notice that if you key up in your calculator, that the expression you plugged in is repeating there. And you can just key to the number you're replacing. In this case, we changed -2 to -1. And then hit enter, and we get -1 and 1/4. This saved a few steps of typing everything in the calculator. Let's see that process again. This time we're going to replace -1 with 0, and we'll have to delete the negative sign. We went up, delete negative, change 1 to 0, and hit enter. We get -1. We'll do this again. Key up, go across to 0, change it to 1, hit enter, and we get -3/4. And then we key up again, change 1 to 2, hit enter, and we get -1/2. So we've now completed the table easily using our calculator and not having to retype the expression every single time. So I'm going to write my ordered pairs, and then we're going to create a graph. And notice that my numbers are all pretty close to 0, so I don't have to make a very large graph. I'm going to make one that goes out, that's 6 lines of paper tall by 6 lines of paper wide. Label your x-axis and your y-axis. And I'm just going to count by ones. 1, 2, 1, or -1, -2. +1, +2, -1, -2. So I just counted by ones. And then I'm ready to plot my points from my table, those ordered pairs. So we have -2, -1.5, -1, -1.25, 0, -1, 1, -3/4, and 2, -1/2. And I did notice that I had accidentally written that last one as -2, 2 and -1/4, but it's 2 and -1/2. So make sure that you correct that right there. We draw our line through the points, and we have graphed the equation using a table.